I'm pregnant. Should I tell him now? Or...
Nadia, Nadia, Nadia. I have found you at last.
Who are you? What are you doing in my house? I'm gonna call 911.
I'm Renzo's father.
You're his cruel mafia father, Leonardo Moretti.
Oh, I know all about you and my son's little plan to escape and elope. I can tell you I am here tonight to put an end to it.
Renzo's not here. He must have escaped. Renzo isn't here.
I'm not here for him. I'm here for you. You are going to break up with my son.
Like hell I will.
I thought you might need a little bit more persuasion, so...
You monster! Did you do that to him? He's your son.
No son of mine turns his back on the Mafia family. If Renzo wants to leave, he will do so in a body bag.
You're not going. He is your only heir.
I'm not here to bargain with you. You're just around to help me make my decision.
Decision?
If Renzo betrays me for you, then I will kill him. And I will simply choose the more loyal heir to become the Mafia king. But if he agrees to abandon you, I will spare him.
Nadia, open up! It's me, Renzo! I promised that I'd come back for you. No one can ever keep us apart! Nadia!
Let's see what you decide.
Come on, Nadia! No one can ever keep us apart! Hey, Nadia, please!
No, I can't do this.
You have to. Choose your love
Hey, Nadia, please!
or his life.
Wait, no, please.
If you don't end it with him, I will make sure that you see his body as a corpse tonight.
Fine. Fine, I will break up with him. Just, you can't hurt him.
Go ahead.
Nadia, open up! It's me, it's Renzo! Come on, Nadia! Hey, baby. I did it. I escaped. We can leave right now. Tonight. Go and get your things. Come on.
He's hurt.
What is my father doing here? You stay away from her.
It's over. We're done.
What are you saying? Did my father force you to say that? Did he threaten you?
Please give up on us, Renzo. That way you can live.
Tell him, Nadia. Did I?
No, he didn't. I called him here, okay? Because I know that we don't have a future. And if I ran away with you, we would be born on the run from him forever. So I decided to take his money, and I told him where you were.
No, I don't believe that. Nadia, I trusted you. How could you betray me like this?
I don't care about us. I just want the money, okay?
You knew the pain that my father would put me through. You hurt me for a little money. I got you. I'm gonna sleep with this under my pillow.
Sounds like someone's obsessed.
Nadia, a night's a night, okay? I'm gonna slip away from my dad's watch. Then we can leave forever. You're coming with me, right?
Of course, I told you I'd follow you anywhere.
You are the best thing that has ever happened to me. And I promise I will always care for you and never let you down.
I love you.
I love you. 10 million isn't a little. I can do anything I want with that kind of money. I can need a chance. And you know what? I am going to marry him. And I'm going to have a normal life in some European city. And I just want you to leave me alone.
Sounds like you have it all planned out.
I'm sorry, but I can't let you sacrifice yourself for me. I will take care of our child and pray that you find happiness without me.
Okay, deep breath. We are almost there. I can see the head. One more big push. Got it. It's a little girl. I'm so sorry, miss. She has congenital leukemia. She'll need treatment her whole life.
Please, Professor, you have to give me another chance, okay? I really need this class to graduate.
If you actually cared, you wouldn't have missed so many classes. It's not my fault you can't graduate. Now please, leave my office.
I know I'm late, but just give me a few more days, okay? And then I can pay Riley's medical bills. Sir, let me go.
Crap like this has been my everyday reality, but I don't have a choice. I need the money for my daughter.
Bitch.
No, stop! Get off me! Help! Oh!
Okay.
Yeah.
Boss, you're barely recovered. Let's not stay out here too long.
It couldn't be her. She took my father's money. She made me work me something like this. Let's go.
Renzo? No, it's not him. Ugh, I must be so tired. Renzo, I wonder how you're doing. I miss you.
I didn't know that the next time I would meet him would be years later.
Good morning, Miss Vincenti.
You bitch. You little thief. Where's my necklace?
Necklace.
Don't play dumb. You were responsible to clean my room this morning. And now, my necklace is missing.
Look, I didn't steal your necklace.
You, go search your room. I'll find out the truth, and if you're lying to me...
Like, that's my stuff.
You too. Restrain her. You work for me, and this is my house. So everything you own belongs to me. It's not here. Check her body. Strip search her. I don't care! Just find that goddamn necklace.
Wait, no, please, please don't. Please don't. No. Stop.
Miss Diana, I found a wallet.
Let's see. There's nothing in here but a worn out photo.
That's my photograph. Stop.
You're disgusting. Now I'm asking you for the one last time. Where is my necklace?
What's going on here?
Oh, Renzo, I didn't know you were stopping by today.
Hello, Renzo. It's been a while.
Do you two know each other?
I thought she looked like someone who betrayed me once. But it's not her.
Renzo, I'll have my dad find your enemy and get rid of them. Just say the word.
I can get my revenge myself. I'm here to talk business with your father. Keep it quiet down here.
Renzo, it is you. I'm so glad to see that you are alive and well. No, you.
Please, be careful. If you make too much noise and disturb their business meeting, your father will punish you.
Yeah, you're right. Drag her to the Rose Garden and call Lucia. I'll deal with her there.
Now that your father is gone, you're the new head of the Moretti family. You may have defeated me and taken my territory, but I still have your men as my prisoners.
I'm here, aren't I? What do you want in return for my men?
Marry my daughter, Diana. That way I can ensure the Vincenti family will have Moretti's lifelong protection.
You want me to work for you for the rest of my life in exchange for the freedom of a few henchmen? You must think that I'm stupid.
I've always heard that you value loyalty over everything. Do you really abandon your men like that?
Okay, I'll marry your daughter.
We have a deal.
I dropped my necklace here yesterday, and if you're saying that you didn't steal it, you better look carefully and find it. Otherwise, don't come back.
Diana! What are you hurting me?
You? But what are you gonna do with her? Don't tell me you're attracted to her.
Diana, you and I are now engaged. I don't want my fiancée getting her hands dirty, so let me handle the disciplining.
You actually agreed to the engagement? Oh, I'm so happy. He's engaged.
This is where we're gonna get married. You're gonna walk down an aisle. You're gonna stand right there. And we're gonna promise to be together forever.
Get married? You haven't even asked me. How do you know I want to marry you?
Not yet. Will you marry me?
Not till you get a ring.
Okay, listen. I will find the perfect ring. And I will ask you again. And I will ask you 1,000,000 times if I have to.
Renzo, if your father hadn't shown up that day, would we be happily married now? Renzo,
What are you doing here? Working for a family like the Vincentis? Didn't my father give you 10 million? Have you spent it this quickly?
Yeah, I spent the 10 million and I married a rich man and he went bankrupt. So I dumped him.
You really have no shame. Do you know how much I suffered after you left me? I still remember watching you walk away from me before passing out on your doorstep.
I just want you to leave me alone.
And my father being shot by a rival gang while taking me to hospital.
What? Your father died?
I was rushing to the ICU. 3 times they had to bring me back to life. And you disappeared. With your money. You never came to see me.
I had no idea how much you suffered.
You have no idea what I've been through the last 5 years. What I have done to become a respected Mafia boss. If you hadn't abandoned me, if you hadn't have told my father where I was, none of this would have happened. I hate you.
He's already engaged. There's no point in telling him the truth.
This is all my fault, Renzo. Thank you for saving me back there. And I know that you probably don't ever want to see me again, so I just disappear.
Who said that you could leave? No. You're not going anywhere. I am going to keep you around as my most pathetic maid. You're going to pay for betraying me.
Oh, you're hurting me. What are you doing? Renzo, I thought I was only supposed to be your maid.
You didn't know. Pleasing me is also one of the maid's duties in my house.
No! Renzo, stop!
What are you so afraid of? It's not like we haven't had sex before. I suggest you stop with this sad crying act. Start behaving yourself. If not, I can make things a lot worse for you.
Renzo, do you really hate me this much? Will you ever forgive me?
I miss you, sweetie.
How you feeling?
The doctors say I'm doing better.
Good.
Nadia, may I have a word with you?
Sure.
I'm coming with you.
Okay, sweetheart. But don't wander off too far. We don't want to cause Mom any trouble, okay?
Okay.
The guys that are injured in the crossfire are on this floor.
Sir, you look handsome. Can you be my dad?
I'm sorry, kid, I can't do that.
That's my mom. She's beautiful. She works really hard because I'm sick. I want her to have somebody.
Boss, this way.
Nadia, Riley's next in line for the bone marrow transplant. We're just waiting to find a match.
I wanted to give this to you. I know that you have been paying for Riley's medical expenses, and it's all I can really afford right now, so I got a second job, and it pays more, so please take it.
Hey, we're going to save your daughter. I promise. In the meantime, take care of yourself, Nadia. Get some rest.
Riley? Look, honey, I thought I told you not to wander off.
Sorry, Mommy.
It's okay, just don't
do it again, okay?
Sorry for being so sick and that you have to work extra hard. I just thought if only Daddy were here to help you out.
Oh, sweetheart. Your father, he moved to another country. So it's just you and me. I am so sorry that I couldn't tell you the truth.
Don't be sad, Mommy. I promise not to ask about him anymore.
Sweet. Okay, I have to go to work. Do you mind taking her home after her treatment?
Of course.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I love you, sweetie. I'll see you later, okay?
Okay.
Nadia, you're late.
I know, I'm so sorry, boss.
We have VIP in the platinum room, and they're waiting for drinks.
I'm on it.
Let's go.
Ooh, wow. It's a good day.
Ooh, here we go.
I'm ready.
Woo! There we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, we got some baddies in here.
Renzo, you pick first. They're all so juicy, man. I don't know who to choose, man.
Do I look like I need to buy my women? You go ahead. Have your fun. I won't be joining.
That's right. The boss is engaged to that Vincenti girl. Better be careful.
Well, if you're not hungry, I'll start. Ooh. Oh, yeah, daddy, nice. Ooh. A little shy one. I'll take you. Come on, sweet cheeks. Let's go upstairs and have some fun.
I don't do that. I just serve the drinks.
What? What do I pay your boss for?
Renzo, tell him that I don't do that.
Renzo, she with you? She is, I'll let her go.
I don't know her.
Time to play.
Oh.
Why can't I get my mind off her?
Stop! No, stop it now! Stop!
You fucking bitch!
Please!
Calm down. That's better. Nice.
Get off her! Right now! Naughty, look at me. You okay? Nadia. She's been drugged. What did you give her?
She wouldn't stop fighting, so I gave her a little something to calm down. You said she wasn't yours.
You disgust me. Take him to the docks, feed him to the sharks.
What? Wait, Mr. Moretti, hey, please, this is a little extreme, huh? Hey, I know.
Nadia.
I just want to go. Take me home.
Why is it so hard for me to say no to you? Nadia. Looks like some things never change. You're home safe now.
I miss you. sauna feels nice.
Daddy? Mom, you brought Daddy home.
I'm so sorry, sweetheart. That's not Daddy, but Mommy's really, really tired. Can you take yourself to sleep and Teddy Bear too?
Okay, I'll go to sleep too. Good night, Mommy.
Okay, good night. Love you.
Nadia, you had a kid with another man? Nadia. Nadia. Wake up, damn it!
What are you doing? Renzo? What are you doing in my house?
I can't believe I almost fell for your tricks again. You cruel, heartless woman.
Renzo, do you hate me that much now?
Nadia, you cause me nothing but pain. And yet I can't give you up.
All right.
Mommy, I had a dream that Daddy came home last night.
Sweetheart, I thought I told you not to talk about him anymore, okay? Just hurry up and eat so I can take you back to the hospital. Mommy has to go to work.
Do I have to go to the hospital again? I just came home.
You do, I'm sorry. But Dr. Caleb said that after your transplant, you'll be able to stay home more often, okay? Okay, now hurry up and eat, because Mommy cannot be late. I got a bagel from your favorite spot and black coffee. Just how you like it.
You're a maid, not my wife. Don't act like you know me.
I know you have that big meeting today, and I didn't want you to starve.
You were the one who abandoned me and left me to die 5 years ago. Do not pretend like you care about me now. Not only did she betray me, she has a daughter with someone else. Why should I care about her? I only started eating bagels because you liked them. I never did. Stop embarrassing yourself.
Hi, Dr. Caleb. Is everything okay with Riley?
Don't worry, Nadia. Your daughter is doing well. I have great news. We found a donor match for Riley's transplant.
What? That's amazing.
Take care of yourself, and I'll have my office reach out to you with details.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Ransom, baby, it's me, Diana.
You. What are you doing here?
Don't go just yet.
You little slut. Are you trying to seduce my husband? Let me go. Renzo made me work for him. I had no choice. How dare you lie to me and steal my man like this? I'm gonna kill you myself. Reason.
Boss, I thought you wanted to leave before Diana sees you.
Diana is going to kill Nadia if I leave right now. You're trying to get yourself killed? Get out of here! Diana, what are you doing in my house?
You told me you would get rid of her from me. Why is she here? Do you have feelings for her?
This is my house. Your family is the one that needs my protection, not the other way around. Now get out before I change my mind about our marriage.
Okay.
I'm not going to let this bitch get away so easily.
Excuse me?
Yes, ma'am.
The maid up there in that room told me to give you this.
You've been trying to seduce me, haven't you? Heard you like your broth, girl.
Get off of me!
Filthy slut.
Let me go! Stop it!
Oh, you're getting to that rule like this slut.
Let me go!
What the hell is going on here? Boss, it's not what it looks like. She came onto me. I want him beaten within an inch of his life.
Yes, boss.
Why are you always getting yourself into trouble? Diana really hurt her badly. Come on. Go and clean yourself up, okay? You can use my bathroom. Tony! I want that gardener arrested for assaulting my maid. But first I want you to rough him up in the courtyard so that everyone knows what happens when they disrespect my property.
Yes, boss.
Damn it. Guess I have to kill that bitch myself.
You're a maid, not my wife. Don't act like you know me. Why are you always getting yourself into trouble?
Renzo, you used to be so caring and gentle with me. Renzo, what are you doing here? I thought you had that exam.
You're not feeling well, so I brought you some medicine. You have a fever. Here, take this.
No, you don't have to take care of me, okay? I don't want you to miss your test.
I am not leaving your side. See, even got myself a hot coffee so I can stay awake all night and take care of you.
You're so good to me, Renzo. What would I do without you?
Why are you crying?
I'm sorry, boss. I didn't mean to disturb you.
Do you have anything else you want to say to me? Say you want to come back to me. Say you need me.
Look, I know that you're not going to forgive me for everything that I put you through. I will do anything you say and listen to every command that you give me.
Is guilt really all you feel for me now? That should help reduce the swelling. I don't want people to think that I'm abusing my maids.
Renzo, is it possible that you still care about me? No, don't be silly, Nadia. He made it clear he hates you. He's just being a kind boss.
Dad, I want to marry Renzo right away. Let's move up the wedding.
Renzo and I have something important next week. Your wedding can wait.
But Dad, he took one of my maids. I'm just worried that she'll seduce him.
So what? Men like us need more than one woman. You'll be his wife, so you'll need to learn to turn a blind eye to these things.
But you don't understand. I think he's in love with her, and I want that bitch dead.
I asked you to marry Renzo to ensure this family's protection, not to cause unnecessary drama. If your little make-believe games cause any problems with my plans, you'll find yourself in a world of trouble. Get out unless you want a beating.
I hate you, Nadia. I'm gonna kill you myself.
Come in.
Good morning, boss.
Victor Vincenti, what can I do for you?
The Russians ambushed my men at our supply warehouse last night. I need your men to help me take back our territory. According to our agreement, you owe me this protection. Hello? Renzo, are you there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here. I'll help you defend your territories. I'll head out with my men right now. I have to go on a business trip. Don't get into any trouble while I'm gone.
Okay, be safe, baby. I'm the boss. Just travel safe.
Thank you.
With this signal jammer, that bitch won't be able to ask him for help. Finally, your ass is mine.
Diana. Renzo's not here and he's gonna be gone for the next week.
I know. He asked me to come look after the house while he's gone.
Well, he didn't tell me about that.
Then go ahead. Why don't you call him and ask yourself?
Please leave your message after the tone.
He's too busy right now with my dad. He doesn't have time for you. That's why I'm here, as his fiance. I'm gonna give you a lesson and teach you how to clean this house.
Okay, fine. I'll go get the others.
That won't be necessary. The others are being watched and managed by my staff outside. Whereas you, I'm gonna manage you myself. Clean the entire house on your own. If I catch you asking for help, I'll have your fingers chopped off one by one.
She almost strangled me to death last time. Better do as she says or she might really kill me. And then no one can care survive it.
I think I'll enjoy my week in my fiance's house.
Let's go.
Okay, I'm all done.
What are you doing? The rug is dirty again. You're not going anywhere until I tell you to stop.
Miss Diana, I have worked for the last 4 days straight, and I have cleaned every single inch of this house on my own. I really need to rest.
Really? Now, you can clean up this mess with your bare hands.
No. I'm done with your nonsense.
If you don't want to, then I'm gonna burn this little necklace of yours.
Wait, that's my locket with my daughter's picture in it. Where did you get that?
You took something from me, so now it's my turn. Take something from you.
Wait, okay, fine, I'll do it. Just give me my necklace back.
Okay.
Oops. What I have done. You can pick up the pieces on your own.
You little bitch, how dare you? This. Enzo's handwriting. I knew it. I knew they had a history.
Who gave you the right to kill my people?
Renzo, you're back early. I was just helping you to teach her a lesson.
Renzo. She's already your fiancée, okay? She has the right to discipline your maid.
Who let them in?
Boss, I had no choice. They pointed guns at me.
If anyone dares to let in any more outsiders without my say-so first, this is what you're gonna get. Understood?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna give you one more chance. For your father's sake. But the next time that my men see you, they will be instructed to shoot you. Now get out of my house. Are you okay? Yeah, well, I'm fine.
Oh my God, your hand. Let me go get some meds for it.
It seems like she cares about me again.
Stay still, it'll feel better soon. Yeah, the ointment gave me helped a lot. What are you doing?
You want this, right? I saw the way your eyes lit up. You touched me. You dressing me. You seduce me so we can be together again. That's your plan, right? Oh, come on, Nadia. Don't lie to me, okay? Now that I'm rich, powerful, you want me again. I can't. Why? I'm thinking about you too.
Renzo, stop.
Nadia. Nadia.
She had a very severe panic attack. Seemed to be triggered by extreme emotional and physical stress. There's dehydration, low blood sugar, and even head trauma. It seems as though she hasn't slept for more than 3 days and has suffered from bites, nail scratches, and even blunt force. I'm sorry.
So this wasn't me. Diana did this to her. I'm gonna make sure that witch pays for what she's done.
Dad, you want to see me?
Renzo.
You deliberately disobeyed my orders. Stay out of Renzo's way.
You promised to spare me this time. Please, I'm begging you. Let me go. Let me go. I won't do this again. Please.
Victor, I don't have a lot of patience.
No! Why the hell do you always cause me so much trouble?
I won't do it again. Please! Renzo, didn't she hurt you? Why are you punishing me for her?
Victor. Keep your daughter out of my way if you want to honor the agreement. I can protect you, but don't ever forget, I could just as easily take you down.
Yes, Miss Moretti. You useless bitch! What good is marrying him if you can't win him over?
Sorry, Dad. I'll fix this. Once we're married, I'll steal all his gang secrets. Please. Okay.
Don't let me down again.
Where am I?
Nadia, you okay?
Did you bring me here? Thank you for taking care of me, Renzo.
Don't get the wrong idea. You passed out in my house. I would have done the same for any employee. So you've been in the hospital for days. Why hasn't your husband come to visit?
I don't have a husband.
But your daughter.
I have a 5-year-old, but they never got married.
Then who's the father?
Miss Nadia, I've been trying to reach you all week, but you haven't answered your phone. Nurse Kelly said I would find you here. Hi. Sorry, I don't think we've met. I'm Caleb.
Is this your child's father?
What? No, this is Dr. Pearson. He's Riley's attending physician.
I see. I'm Renzo Moretti, Nadia's ex-boyfriend.
You're Renzo, the man who's caused Riley and Nadia suffering all these years.
Caleb, can you just be nice to Renzo? He is my new boss.
You work for this man? Nadia, you don't need to work for a man like that. I can help you find work somewhere else.
Bravo, Nadia. You certainly have a way with men don't you? Always have them wrapped around your finger.
Don't you talk about her like that.
Dr. Pearson, we need you in the children's ward right now. It's Riley. She's in critical condition.
What? Wait, what happened?
Please let my daughter be okay. Don't punish my daughter for my own sins. Just take me instead.
Miss Nadia, your daughter's condition has worsened. We've contacted the donors about moving up the transplant, but unfortunately they backed out.
What? How can that?
It happens from time to time. I'm sorry. I thought we had longer, but if we don't find a donor for Riley by the end of the week, I'm afraid we might.
Tony, I need a favor. Find a bone marrow donor match for Nadia's daughter. Do it fast.
Renzo, can you please donate your bone marrow to Riley?
Are you crazy? You want me to donate my bone marrow to save a child you had with some random stranger?
No, she is not a random stranger. She is yours. She is our child, Renzo.
What did you just say?
You are Riley's father. I haven't been with anyone else.
You dare lie to my face about this? Have you no shame, you bastard?
If it weren't for you.
Shut up! This is between me and her.
Look, if you don't believe me, we can take a paternity test, okay?
Fine. Let's do it right now.
I'll have Nurse Kelly get a sample from you and Riley and deliver it to the labs.
If that really is Renzo's child, I'm doomed. I have to do something.
I have to let Nadia know about this right away.
Hey, Nadia sent me down here for the paternity test result. Are they ready?
Yeah, they're right here. Thanks so much for taking them up to her.
Of course.
She does look a lot like me. Could she really be my daughter? How long has she been like this?
She was born with leukemia, so she's been in and out of the hospital her whole life.
Why didn't you tell me? What I mean is, if she really is my child, you should have told me sooner, and her illness wouldn't have gone on for so long.
It's all my fault. I put her through so much.
Don't cry. She'll be fine. If your daughter hears you cry, she's only gonna hurt more.
The DNA test results are ready.
I'm not her father.
What? No, that's impossible.
You are a sick woman to keep lying like this.
No, I'm not lying, okay? Riley is your daughter. You have to believe me.
Nadia, it is over. The results are back and they are negative.
It's a mistake. We could just get another test.
I have had enough of your lies. I will not let you play me again.
Riley's going to die if she doesn't have a donor, and I know that you can help her.
It was a mistake letting you back into my life. I want nothing to do with you or your daughter. You're fired.
It's better to kill that little girl before anyone finds out the truth.
We're under strict orders from Mr. Morelli to not let you in.
Please, you work here, okay?
No, you don't. Boss told us he fired you. Don't come any closer.
Fine. If you won't let me in, then I will just wait until he comes out.
Tony, what's up?
Boss, I've checked every bone marrow registry in the country. I had your DNA and everyone else on the stat test just in case, and this is so odd. But you're the only match. Is there a possibility that she's your daughter?
No, Tony, she's not my daughter. I saw the results myself. Keep looking for another match. Nadia, I will not soften for you again.
Nadia, just go. The boss won't see you.
I have to fight for it.
Take her to the hospital right now.
Riley. Oh, Mommy's gonna save you, okay? I'm not gonna let you die. Renzo, you have to save my daughter.
I don't know what's real anymore. You've betrayed me too many times. I can't help you anymore.
You have to believe me, okay? She is your daughter.
Believe you? I believed you 5 years ago. I believed you when you told me you loved me. I turned my back on my own family for you. And you abandoned me. I lost everything. And I almost died because of it. Why should I listen to you now?
You won't ever forgive me for my sins, will you?
No, I won't. I never want to see you again.
Are you sure you want to donate bone marrow to Riley?
Yes. Under one condition. Nadia can never know that it came from me.
I don't understand. Riley's your daughter. Why wouldn't you want her?
She's not my daughter.
But
We took the test. It was negative. I don't want to hear any more about Riley being my daughter. I'm a match for her bone marrow, and she is important to Nadia, so I will save her.
I'll have my office reach out to schedule a pre-op. Renzo must really love Nadia if he's still doing all this for her.
We have a match for Riley and can schedule the transplant next week.
Oh my god. Oh, you have no idea how relieved I am. Who's the donor?
They wish to remain anonymous.
Okay, well, we must have an angel out there. Thank you so much, Caleb.
Renzo. Renzo, are you okay? Are you sick? What's wrong?
You shouldn't be in here. Nadia, I told you I don't want to see you again. Why do you care what happens to me?
I care about you. I care about you a lot.
Felt it from across the room. You felt a little enchanted too.
Wow.
Did I miss something?
You deserve an Academy Award for those acting skills.
Did you make a choice in life? Like
Stop following me.
Not until you tell me why you're in the hospital.
Tell me, do you actually care about me? Or are you just acting nice so that I will donate bone marrow to Riley?
I never wanted to hurt you, Renzo.
So then just tell me, do you still love me?
I never stopped loving you.
Mr. Moretti, we're ready for you. If your wife wishes to accompany you, she's more than welcome.
She's not my wife. Let's go. Don't follow me.
Renzo, there was a time you begged me to marry you. And I wish we could go back. Isn't that one of Diana Vincenti's guards? What is he doing here? Why is he going towards the children's wards? Diana doesn't have any kids. Here you go. Just be careful, okay? That's Riley's room. Riley! Doctor, somebody help!
It's not yet. Your daughter's in critical condition and needs to be operated on immediately.
It's Diana. I know it. I know she sent that man in there to hurt Riley.
Dr. Pearson, the donor is ready for extraction.
I need to go in right now.
That must be the donor. I will have to thank him personally when he gets out.
Are you sure you're ready to do this, Renzo?
I'm ready. Now hurry up. There's no time to waste.
Hey, is everything okay with Fred?
Riley is alive and well. The operation went smoothly.
Dr. Pearson, I'm just gonna take the donor to recovery, take his vitals.
Donor? Wait, what does that mean?
Yes. There's no point in hiding it from you anymore. Renzo was the one who donated marrow to Riley.
Okay.
Well, Riley's gonna be feeling better soon. Life should start turning around for you. Nadia, I want to take care of you from now on.
What?
You and Riley.
Caleb,
You still love him, don't you?
I have never stopped loving him.
I thought I had a chance. I'm the fool for believing that.
No, look, I appreciate everything that you have done for me, but I just see you as a friend.
I understand. Nadia, if the two of you love each other so much, why are you still not together? You need to tell him the truth about what happened back then. You need to tell him that you only broke up with him to save his life.
No, his father is already dead, okay? And there is nobody who is going to be able to prove that what I'm saying is true. Plus, he hates me. He's never gonna believe me.
Nadia, don't be silly. He never would have donated bone marrow to Riley if he didn't care about you. He doesn't even believe it's his own daughter. I just want you to be happy. Tell him the truth.
Renzo, do you remember the promise we made?
Hey.
Maybe what happened?
I'm fine.
No, you can tell me the truth. No, you can tell me the truth.
My father is a mafia boss. He asked me to join the business. I refused. So, he did this.
It's my heart to see you like this.
Then run away with me. I'll leave my father behind. And with you by my side, we could do anything. Will you come with me?
I would follow you to the ends of the earth. And I would never leave your side. I'm never gonna leave your side.
Miss Nadia? Could you possibly just wait outside? I've got to run some tests.
Oh, sure.
Hey, you're awake. How are you feeling?
Where am I?
Easy now. You're in the recovery room. The surgery went well, and thanks to you, your daughter is healthy again.
My daughter. I don't have a daughter.
You still must be confused from the anesthesia. Remember, I gave you the paternity test? It confirmed that Riley's your daughter.
The report that I saw said she's not related to me.
Well, I did that test myself and gave the results directly to your aide. I know for a fact that she's your daughter.
My aide? A woman delivered the results? I didn't recognize her. Unless... I need to see the security footage from the lab that day.
Come to think of it, she was a little bit suspicious, and oddly in a rush to get the results from me. I'll go get the security footage right away.
So Riley really is my daughter. I have a daughter. I have to go and see her. Hey, Riley. It's me.
Your father. So glad you're doing better.
You're lying. My mom says my dad's in another country.
What?
I wish I had a dad. Sometimes I wish Dr. Caleb could be my dad.
I've decided to tell Renzo the truth. So thank you for convincing me to follow my heart.
I'm always here for you. You know that?
You're awake.
Why did you tell Riley that her father is out of the country?
Is she awake? Wait, how is she?
Answer my question!
I just didn't know how to explain to her the truth. I'm sorry.
Then why didn't you tell me that I have a daughter when I saw you at Diana's house?
So you finally believe me. That Riley really is your daughter? Look. And so there's something I really need to tell you.
I don't want to hear anything else from you. From now on, I will be taking care of Riley. She needs a responsible adult in her life, not a liar like you.
No, Renzo, you cannot. I am her mother.
And I am her father! And you have kept us separated for 5 years! It is your turn to understand what that's like.
She's all that I have.
Then go and marry Caleb. Have another kid. I've already arranged for Riley's room to be guarded at all times. You're never gonna get near her again. And the pain that I have felt, you're gonna feel it for the rest of your life.
Let us through. I'm Riley's attending physician. I'm afraid I can't do that. Boss has already taken you off her case and signed another doctor. Don't worry. We're still in the hospital, so they can't do anything quite yet. Come on. Let's go somewhere to figure out how we can get Riley.
He's suing me for custody. I'm going to lose everything.
I don't understand how this is possible. What did he say when you told him the truth?
I didn't even get a chance to tell him. Somebody else must have told him that Riley was his daughter, and he just got so mad and he blocked me from seeing her. I didn't even get a chance to say anything.
So sorry. I'm so sorry, Nadia. We'll figure this out. I promise. We'll figure this out. I promise.
A room needs to be ready. I want the best children's furniture you can find, and then fill it with toys. Spare no expense.
Yes, boss.
Boss, we checked the cameras, and you were right. Diana was the one who switched the files.
Diana, it's time to end my partnership with the Vincentis.
Diana, what are you doing? You and Renzo made up yet?
He has a child with a maid. I refuse to be humiliated like this.
An illegitimate child? That is a threat to our stake in the business!
Victor Vincenti, your daughter's gone too far this time.
Guards! It's you who owes my daughter an apology. You must get rid of your bastard before you marry her.
Marry her? You must be crazy to think that I still want to do business with you.
We had a deal. I gave your men back. If you break the bargain, I'll kill them all. And you too.
If you've got the guts, go ahead.
Goodbye, Renzo Bread.
Tell your men to stand down, or you die.
Do as he says!
Today, your guns and your men belong to me. Well. The key to the Vincenti safe. So nice doing business with you.
Brenda, what about me? We can still get married. I'll let you have this house and forget about my dad.
I will never marry you, Diana. You swapped my paternity test with a fake report. And you tried to poison my daughter! I don't kill women, but I could make an exception for you. From now on, the Vincentis answer to me. Stay out of my way. Do not interfere with my business again.
I'll have my revenge, Nadia and Renzo.
I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Why should I? You killed my father. You nearly cost me my daughter's life. I'm gonna make sure that you suffer a fate worse than death.
Boss, something happened. Everything went to bring Riley's home, but she's gone missing.
What? Where the hell is my daughter?
I didn't take her.
She's with Nadia, isn't she? You tell me where they are, or I will make sure you never perform a surgery again.
I'm just trying to help a heartbroken mom save her kids from their possessive father.
And what was the plan, huh? You gonna run away with them, start a new family? Never going to happen.
At least I do a better job than you.
Go!
What makes a reckless, radical punk like you better than me?
What are you talking about?
Wish you've been together for so many years. Don't you even know her? All this time, her heart has belonged to you, and you alone. No matter what she's been through, no matter who came into her life, it was always you. You were the one she's always cared about. The one she couldn't replace.
You and her.
There's nothing going on between me and Nadia. She's remained faithful to you all of these years. I did want to date her, but she told me she was waiting for her true love to return.
But how could I be her true love if she is the one who abandoned me?
You don't know? Your father threatened to kill you if she didn't break up with you. She had no choice but to obey him. You know, she was pregnant with Riley the night the two of you were supposed to leave.
What about the 10 million? What about the rich man that she went abroad with?
She didn't take the money. There was no man. Nadia has suffered all of this time, and she stayed. She stayed in hopes of seeing you again, being reunited.
Why didn't she tell me any of this when she saw me?
Because you were engaged to Diana. She didn't want to upset you anymore.
Say goodbye to your slut and bastard child.
Diana has kidnapped Riley and Nadia.
Since you like taking my things so much, I'm gonna take you and your daughter's life.
No. Where is Riley?
I gave her some sleeping pills, but don't you worry. I'm gonna make you suffer. Just like you made me.
Let her go!
If your men come any closer, I'll slash their throat.
You hurt her. I shoot him.
You think I care about him? You think I care about my dad? Go ahead. Go ahead and shoot him.
Diana, I'm your father.
Don't you? Don't you beg me for mercy now. You would have killed me. Give you any more power. I hate you.
You're insane! Ah!
You should have just married me. So none of this would have happened.
Mommy, where are we?
Come here, darling. Come here. Look at my hand! I'm gonna end you. Riley, are you okay?
Hey, Riley. I'm sorry Daddy's late. But everything's gonna be okay.
Enzo, I'm so sorry. I know I took her away, but I had no idea that Diana was going to kidnap us. Please just don't take her away from me, okay? She's all I have.
Nadia. Caleb told me everything. I know. Why you had to break up with me 5 years ago. And I know that you have been nothing but loyal to me. I'm sorry for how I've treated you.
I'm so sorry for all the pain that I put you through.
I love you, Nadia. I've never stopped loving you.
Yeah.
Mommy and Daddy are back together.
Wait, I thought you said that I wasn't your daddy. What made you decide that I was?
I've always known who you were. Mommy has a photo of you. She cries every time she sees your photo. So I thought you were a bad dad. That's why I pretended not to know you.
I was a bad dad. I was. But I'm gonna be a better dad from now on, okay? We're gonna be a family. Nothing is ever gonna keep us apart.